Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Monday, the 25th day of November, 2024, Monday of the 34th and final week of our church year. It is also 1 month till Christmas. Oh my gosh. And it is also 4 days until Thanksgiving Day, if you come today. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 days, 3 days, 4 days, Thursday, whatever it is. Thursday is Thanksgiving Day. So it is upon us. And again, it is once again a quiet day here at on the campus of St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Community because, again, school let out, both our preschool and TFS let out on Friday for the holiday break. So no busyness, no music, no early morning drop-off, nothing like that today. So it's quite nice to be here in the peace for a little bit, although it gets kind of lonely because you miss everybody and all the activity that usually happens here in the mornings at St. Francis. But entering into this last week of the church year, again, we continue with Revelation. It will take Revelation all the way through this year. I think this is year 2 of our weekday lectionary. Weekday lectionary is divided into 2 years, and so year 2 is the even years, so 2024, and then year 1 is the odd years, 2025. In the odd years, we hear in the first reading Daniel's prophecies of the plan that God has to fulfill God's promises to Israel and then to the world. But we're still in Revelation. John's vision again now moves to an image of 144,000 people, or individuals, or souls, or whatever you want to call them, arraigned around the throne, basically who've washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb. The robes are now white and shiny, and they are the ones who have been justified, saved, whatever it is. Now, you can go a whole lot of ways with this kind of imagery, and many have often thought, and there are some who do, especially within our Christian tradition, our Christian history, that only 144,000 were going to be, quote unquote, saved, meaning get into heaven and not burn in the fires of hell. A bit ridiculous and absurd, again, for God to be that choosy and that picky, again, knowing what God knows. Again, if God is omnipotent, now God is omniscient, God knows how it's going to end. God knows how it's going to end and what's going to lead to it to end. And why would God bother to create a world if God wanted just to destroy it, wipe it away, and save a paltry few people? But there are many within our church who want a perfect society, who want us, to live only in a small bubble, who only want just a few good Catholics or good Christians, and that's about it. And that's not what that's not what God desires. That's not how it is. And even looking again, so you have Peter, who betrays, Judas, who Peter who denies, Judas who betrays, and again, Judas not knowing how to deal with it, and so basically ends his life. Peter, becoming remorseful and then angry, that he has to kind of account for the fact that he denied his friend and what have you. It's not perfection that God is after. It never was perfection that God is after. God is the one who is perfect. What God wants us is to realize our own abilities, to be able to be what God has created us to be, and to live that way, and to live with that sense of confidence and trust, again, in our own goodness, and the fact that God creates good. Because if we are created by God, God cannot create bad. It's as simple as that. We are the ones basically who choose what to do with that creation that we are, because God cannot control it. But the fact that it begins in goodness is always something that, again, we must confirm and reaffirm in our lives again and again and again. So this 144,000, what do they represent? Well, basically, they represent the perfection of perfections in God's ability to perfect, meaning that they are, again, the 12 tribes times 12, because 12 times 12 is 144, to your math. And so the new tribe, the new Israel, the new covenant, the new whatever, not that God destroys the old covenant, not that God pushes, Judaism out of the question and everything else like that. But the thing is that, again, this new beginning again of people who now will understand that God is the one who is in charge, and who will respond to God's goodness and God's wonder and God's beauty in a way, again, that is unimaginable. Is that a pipe dream? Is that a fantasy? Is that something, for the distant future for us to think about? It can be now. It can be here in those moments in which we recognize the fact, that God is, the most important thing in our lives. That without God and God's presence in our lives are meaningless. That with God's presence in our lives are given great meaning meaning and hope, to enjoy this wonderful world that we live in, to enjoy the wonderful realities that we are, to enjoy all that God gives us. Again, makes us blessed and glorious, and all those wonderful things that go into describing this 144,000 that John sees in this vision of his. It is what God promises us, the fullness of all humanity, of all creation, being one with God. In Luke's Gospel today, again, we begin just to hear echoes of Sunday, but from now Luke's perspective, the widow who gives who gives only 2 coins, again, the widow's mite, whatever it is, and how blessed she is, as opposed to all of those who gave, thousands of millions of coins and whatever it was. Again, it is not a call to poverty. It is not a call to destitution. It is not a call to say that Jesus likes people to be unable to feed themselves or care for themselves. Again, that is not a God that Jesus reveals, nor is it a God that we should be involved with, because that is not a God who cares. It is the sense, again, in which what are we able to give? Go always, to God. How are we able to give what we can to God? Why did this woman feel the need to basically give as much as she could, that was all that she had, to help a temple, basically, maintain itself? It wasn't necessarily given to God. It was for the maintenance of the temple. Again, that small act, of care and of love, that small act of recognizing something important that she wanted to contribute to, again, if that could be multiplied thousands of times in our own lives, to basically give because we know that something is important, that something matters, not just for our own welfare, but for the welfare of others. Again, what kind of world do we create? What kind of life do we see for ourselves? What kind of future does our world then begin to embrace, because of our generosity and our care for the more beyond us? A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.